Hello friends, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I want to jump right in and teach you how to get those creamy backgrounds that are out of focus that just make your subject really pop out in the image. So we're going to start by getting our cameras into aperture priority mode. You can see that I have my dial set to A, which is my aperture priority mode. For some people that is a V, as in Victor. And if neither of those are options for you, then you may need to Google it or consult your owner's manual to see what aperture priority is on your camera. Then we are going to get our aperture set. The aperture has an F in front of it to our highest number. So, see, I'm going to try doing this backwards, so bear with me. I want to get that up to 22, which is my highest number. And then we're going to take a picture. Then we're going to move it about halfway down. I'm going to say about F8. I know F11 is kind of half of 22, but I feel like F8 is going to show us the biggest difference so you can see what aperture priority is doing. And then to our smallest number, with the lens I'm using, my smallest number is F2.8, and we'll take our third picture and then we'll compare them. For this exercise, I recommend that you come outside during the daytime so that you have plenty of sunlight for your camera to do what it needs to do. Grab something to take a picture of. I'm choosing my succulent planter, and put it down on a steady surface so you can get the same picture 3 times. When you take your picture, make sure that you lock focus on something. I'm going to pick one of these succulents to lock focus on, and I'm going to make sure that when I take the picture, I get a little bit of background around it so that we can see how the background looks in relation to the subject in our 3 different pictures. All right, here we go. I've got my camera set to f22. I am framing up my picture with some of the background in it, locking focus on one of the succulents and snapping a picture, adjusting to f.8, snapping the same picture again, and then adjusting to f2.8 and snapping my final picture. Let's see what we get. And now for the results of our exercise. You can see at F22 that the houses across the water are still really in focus. At F8.0, they're blurring out a little bit. You can't see the doors and windows quite so clearly. And at F2.8, they are all the way out of focus and kind of blurry in the background. And the succulent is definitely the center of attention of that image. And I also wanted to show you that you don't really need to set something up. Here I just walked up to a palm tree in my backyard, focused on one of the bark scales, and got the same results as the previous exercise. And finally, I want to show you what can happen with a zoom lens. I took both of these pictures at f2.8, and when I was at 70 millimeters, you can see that the grass in front of and behind of the flower is also in focus. But when I zoom all the way out to 180 millimeters, the flower stands out from the grass in front of and behind it because it is not in focus. So this was an experiment with depth of field. Depth of field with photography is controlled by the aperture. The aperture is the opening in the lens where the light comes through to take the picture. So the larger your aperture, the smaller your depth of field. So we saw with f2.8 that the planter was clearly in focus, but the background was blurred out. That was a very shallow depth of field, our largest aperture, and that's expressed in f-stops, f2.8. So you're kind of seeing the smaller the number, the larger the opening. And then as we got to f22, we had a very small opening and everything in the picture was clear. So we had a very large depth of field. Another example is this lens, which zooms from 55 millimeters to 250 millimeters. And you can see here that the f-stop goes from 4.0 to 5.6. And what that means is at 55 millimeters, the aperture can go all the way down to f4. But when zoomed all the way out to 250 millimeters, our lowest f-stop is 5.6. I encourage you to get out there with your camera and practice with your aperture. Experiment with different subjects, experiment with how far your subject is from the background, different lighting scenarios, and just find out what happens when you change your aperture. So let me know if there's anything that you still don't understand about aperture, if you need something clarified, or if you have any more questions, and I would be happy to respond to your comments. As always, please subscribe, like the episode, and hit the button down below to be notified of future episodes. Have a great day.